This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kyle Bebo. I'm a digital nomad, and the project that I'm going to be showing you guys today is called Heard. It's a passion project of mine. If you haven't, Heard is a grassroots initiative combating the extortion efforts of major record labels on musical talent. It's catchy, right? So basically, the goal for it is for it to grow it into an open source record label and create a suite of software tools that kind of aid in the process of the creatives in that industry kind of establishing on their own. We're starting off with a $99 subscription model geared towards kind of hip hop and rap, the genres, and for MCs to be able to download unlimited instrumentals. And then we're taking those monthly earnings and automatically redistributing them back to the producers on a per download basis. So if you think about like a platform for producer royalties or something along those lines. I started Heard about 3 years ago. I moved out to LA with a good friend of mine. He was a music producer, and we were working together. And through like our pursuits, I kind of got introduced. I met a lot of artists and producers that I started working for. I saw an opportunity to start introducing, like visual aid to their production. I'm really in efforts just to get the artists heard, essentially. So that's where I found myself, kind of in the mix with all these artists. I was sitting in on a lot of studio sessions and stuff, and I realized, hey, I don't do anything. I don't have anything to do with music. So let me take a look at, where my strengths are and maybe how I can bridge a gap or, aid in the environment that I found myself in. And that's kind of what brought me to develop Heard initially. I know that I was working with a lot of creatives, and we were all kind of struggling as creatives to sustain, I guess, our own creative exploration or whatever. So I built this platform with the hopes, or the independent producer in mind, to be able to make or generate revenue kind of on their own. It's real easy. They just basically log in, sign up, upload their tracks, and it's put into a giant catalog where then artists can browse and save and download. This is kind of a cut of the mobile app screens that we're going to be releasing. It's a minimal, basically mobile music player. Similar to Spotify, you just scroll up and down and just browse, but this is a huge value add, I think, for the artists to be able to kind of digitally dig and find the instrumentals that they want to work with wherever they are on the go. And it's one thing that our competitors in the space aren't actually, I haven't seen anything in the market that they're doing, so we're hoping that will differentiate us. We've worked with all of these brands as far as formulating validation for, the user flow and the actual software offering that we're bringing to market. And I spoke with Full Sail University, which is the school that I went to, and they showed interest in the software and the idea of what we were doing. They thought it would be a value add to their student body. So they wanted to reconnect with us after we get it developed and have the working model to be able to introduce to them. But I thought approaching trade shows could really benefit off of this, just because of the creative offering of people going to school there. They learn the creative and the engineering side of things, but you don't really get introduced to the sustainability side of having to kind of counter expenses to maintain your creative pursuits. And I thought we could be a good catalyst for that. Here's some of the competitors in the market. The biggest problem that I've seen is the pricing structure. They price kind of in a tiered structure, and they try and police the number of times an instrumental or a beat is played, which I don't think is really feasible. So we're trying to kind of disrupt that a little bit. And we're going to do an invite only for the talent pool that we have as far as producers go. and then kind of like Dribble does, and we can kind of like expand horizontally from there. And then we're going to be targeting MCs that are more serious about their craft, that are, producing 3 to 4 songs a month. And then that would counter the cost to make it lucrative for them. So that's it. That's all I have. And, I created this with, as a grassroots initiative to to help my friends out and help the people that I was creating with, and essentially have us be heard.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. It's interesting stuff. I've got a question about just going back to the very basics. Like, who is your market? Your market is artists that want to include instrumental parts in their songs, in their development?
The target for this service offering is basically to get the producers paid. But it is the relationship between the producer and the artist that we're kind of providing. So artists currently, especially in rap and hip hop, they purchase their beats online, kind of from blind sources. And what we're doing is kind of collecting a talent pool and organizing a more centralized catalog for them to be able to discover their tracks.
For the producers to discover their tracks.
What's that?
For the producers.
For the artists.
For the artists. Okay.
So I understand you. It's sort of a passive statement, though. You're like, we're trying to get the artists paid. You're like, okay, what's the pull? Like, why am I going to go? And I have a secondary question on this. It's like, why? Well, I think I'll just jump to the secondary question. How are you going to be heard? Like, how are you going to promote this? Like, how are you going to get this out, especially in a super noisy world of places online where you can get music or you can get access to music that have massive promotion ability. Word of mouth?
I personally think taking a stance of, redistributing the funds back to the producers is going to kind of give them incentive to want to trust and build a community based with our brand, But also, we have marketing gimmicks and a lot of visual stuff that we're going to be producing. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be that, the idea of kind of passing over the funds and say, hey, we just built this platform, but you guys can use it to put money in your pocket.
Okay.
Sure. So I like the way that you described yourself as an open source record label, and I like some of the language here around we're not here to contribute or comply. So you talked about this being a passion project, and there's some strong words like we're being extorted and we're not here to I'd want to see a lot more passion in the way that you describe it. Mm-hmm. I think for someone who doesn't understand how music is made or distributed today, I think the best thing to do is start by telling me how they're being extorted. Say, this is what's broken. I don't necessarily understand the problem. So that's the first thing I need. As an investor, the first thing I want to know is, what's the problem, and do I believe this problem exists, and is it painful enough that people are seeking out remedies? So that's kind of the first thing. Pretend I'm a complete idiot, which in this aspect I definitely am, and tell me exactly how it gets done today and why that is a terrible process, and then come in with the passion of we're not going to comply with the way it's done. I think that'll resonate, particularly when you're raising early capital. My guess is it's going to be from people who are also creatives or understand the industry. So if you come in with a little bit of a voice that's we all know this is broken and we're not going to take it anymore, I think that'll resonate with your earliest capital forms. I also I think for me, the competitive assessment, there's nothing on there that helps me understand the differentiation between Herd and the 4 competitors named. maybe that needs to be called out graphically without being too trite around the like traditional consultant who has a 4-box matrix and you're always in the top right. Like, it kind of works. It just helps me quickly get like why it's different from the other folks that are out there. And so I think the biggest thing for me before I could probably even give feedback on the rest is I don't understand the problem right now. And so I'd say really focus on like honing in on that, because a lot of your investors may not. And then let that passion, like if you really think, extortion is a pretty strong word, right? And it can go two ways. It can either say, we all feel pain, we all feel like we're getting screwed in this, and we're gonna start a revolution against it. My other reaction to that is like, man, they must be really powerful, right? If they can extort you, like, do I want to swim upstream against people who are powerful enough to extort? So I think that for me is just kind of like my basic feedback, but I love the open source record label I get immediately. I just need to understand how that's different from both how music's done today and how that differs from the sort of 4 people that were named before. That was just a thought.
Cool. Thank you.
So who's your team? Is it just you? Who's
No,
working with
I
you?
got a group of people. I've been working, for 4 years, kind of running around and helping a lot of guys. But you mean as far as like just building this and
Yeah,
making all this?
her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just me.
Is it? Okay.
They're more like they're like contributors and like giving me feedback and stuff.
So you haven't done any of the software development yet, or you have?
Yeah, I have a working prototype of
Okay.
it, and like I proved the concept and everything. So.
And do you have any artists on the platform yet, or not?
No, it's not live. It's
not
something
live.
that I'm still kind of like, working out the alpha stages of locally.
Well, I think Chris's point's well said, because I don't understand how the music industry and how it really works. So I think his point about the pain point of it all. And how did you come up with $99 a month? How did you derive that? Because I don't know what the competition's doing.
I mean, in the industry, like generally the cheapest least instrumental sells for $30 a month, or $30 per download. And so my thought was trying to, create something to target those artists that are a little more serious about it and making 3 to 4 songs a month. So I kind of fell right there in that $99 range.
Okay. Interesting. I'll leave it.
Audience? Yeah, yes.
I guess it's good.
My name is Patrick. I'm actually in this space, so no disrespect to the audience, but no one in this city is going to understand what you're doing.
That makes you feel better.
I literally have an app for independent artists called Dystopia. So it's less about because I know exactly what you're trying to do, like an Envato or a Behance for producers, where they can, I'm not producers, but for artists, or they explicitly rap artists or hip hop artists, where they can go search for some things like beats, check out, I need this, I want to make a song, these two tracks, and then merge them together. The producers still get paid through split payments, they keep all their rights, royalties, so on and so forth. So I completely understand where the judges are coming from, but also completely understand where you're coming from. So, yeah. Literally, we got our first investment out of Atlanta. Like, we literally had to go outside of Charlotte for people to understand this type of platform. So I understand everything where you're coming from, and I understand all the tools that you're trying to bridge together. It's just going to be really hard to garner the energy you need to actually push this forward. Yeah, that wasn't really a question, but I just really wanted to say that because it's just, awesome. I don't want you to feel defeated, because I can feel the deflation coming out.
Appreciate it, man.
Go ahead, just ask. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, from what I heard, that probably a lot of people, it went over their heads. It's just that invite only type of thing. It's exclusivity. You know, if he's getting producers that normally charge like $1,000 up for beats and stuff like that, and which the other platforms don't have, you know, that is why people will go there. You know, just to get access to that exclusive content that they wouldn't normally get at that 99 per month type of thing. And that's gonna what separate him from, you know, SoundCloud and all the general. I got a question, and that markets itself.
Very, very quick.
That's cool.
Very quick. How do you think into these rock that market with $99? Because if you're trying to do something creative with one of these drops, why $99? I think you need to be making a little bit more thinking about the pricing strategy. Just because you know, for one guy selling one track for $30, you want to sell four for $90. Why don't you sell one track for $2? And now you go to really massive, and now you really disrupt. How much is going to be your cost up in the cloud? Storage?
Well, that's like, it's because it's the subscription model is for the artists themselves, so the artists will be paying $99. But we want to get the producers paid on the backside, so we're taking that money and kind of like redistributing it back out to them. But as far as price point goes, we're starting with like the licensed beats, and then we've considered introducing like exclusive purchases or one-off purchases, kind of like you're talking about, for different price points.
Happy that, ladies and gentlemen.